Tonight, we're going to break down an absolutely wild day. We're talking about military action in the Pacific, total chaos in Washington, and a bombshell interview, and how all of it came crashing together, leading to a sudden and really dramatic presidential order.
All right, let's just start with a single stark number, 95. That's how many people have been killed in recent U.S. military strikes on small boats out in the eastern Pacific. And get this, the latest strike was just yesterday, killing 8 more people.
So the administration, with War Secretary Pete Hegseth out front, is framing this whole thing as a necessary fight. Their official story? That the U.S. is now in an armed conflict with powerful drug cartels. And these strikes are, a crucial part of that war.
Right, so that's the official line. But is it the whole story? Well, legal experts are already sounding the alarm. And as we're about to see, members of Congress from both parties are asking some pretty tough questions about whether these deadly attacks are even legal or justified.
Okay, so first, let's dig into the strikes themselves and the legal firestorm they immediately kicked up.
And this right here shows you a huge contrast. I mean, think about it. Just last week, when the U.S. seized a big Venezuelan oil tanker, they went and got a federal warrant. They had a clear legal basis. But for these strikes, which left 95 people dead, the administration has provided absolutely zero evidence to Congress or to the public to back any of it up. This whole situation runs right up against a really important law, the War Powers Act of 1973. It was passed for this exact kind of scenario, to stop presidents from just deciding to go to war on their own. If the U.S. really is in an armed conflict, like the administration says, then the president is going to need to get authorization from Congress to keep it going for more than 60 days.
So the administration heads up to Capitol Hill to brief lawmakers. You'd think that would clear things up, right? Well, based on the reactions, let's just say the meeting made everything a whole lot worse. Senator Chris Murphy, for one, did not hold back. He said flat out there was no legal reason and no national security reason for these attacks. He even pointed out that officials admitted in the briefing that the drugs were cocaine headed for Europe, not fentanyl coming to the U.S. like the administration had been implying.
You could just feel the frustration. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez called the whole briefing a joke. She said it wasn't about sharing real intelligence. It was just them sharing their opinions. It was all about pushing a specific story, not presenting the facts. And Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer really drilled down to the core of the problem. If they're not going to be transparent about an issue of literal life and death, it raises a much, much bigger question. How can you trust this administration on anything else? Now, this whole international crisis isn't happening in a vacuum. To really get what's going on, you have to look inside the White House, which frankly seems to be completely consumed by chaos and putting out fires that it started itself. I mean, just look at the pattern of things. You've got the FBI director making a totally false announcement about a mass shooting suspect. Then the president turns around and blames the university for the FBI's own mistake. At the same time, the Department of Justice is literally in court arguing that building a ballroom is a matter of national security. It feels like the focus is just everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
So you have to ask, what's the connection between all this chaos at home and the aggression we're seeing abroad? Well, a stunning new interview just dropped in Vanity Fair, and it gives us an absolutely jaw-dropping look behind the curtain.
So, over a series of 11 interviews, the president's own chief of staff, Susie Wiles, gave this shocking assessment to journalist Chris Whipple. She described a president who she says simply cannot imagine any limits on his own behavior. And then, Wiles connects that personality trait directly to the military strikes. She basically says this isn't about drugs at all. The real goal? She says he wants to just keep blowing boats up to put pressure on Venezuela's leader Maduro and force a regime change. So after this explosive article comes out, Wiles attacks it, calls it a hit piece. But here's the really critical part. She never once said she was misquoted. Not once. And at the same time, you had other senior officials all jumping on social media to post messages of support for her, basically closing ranks. That interview really set the stage. And then just this evening, the whole situation went from a simmer to a full-on boil. It escalated so dramatically, and it really seemed to come out of nowhere.
At 6:46 p.m., the president gets on social media. He doesn't even wait for the big address to the nation he had planned. He just starts with this declaration, boasting about this massive military force surrounding Venezuela. Then, he announces this huge policy change, something with massive legal and military consequences. He's officially designating the Maduro regime in Venezuela as a foreign terrorist organization. And this was the grand finale of the post, right there in all caps, a direct order for a total and complete blockade. I mean, we're not talking about a strike on a little boat anymore. This is a major act of aggression against another country.
The reaction from Congress was immediate, and frankly, one of pure shock. Senator Andy Kim pointed out what should have been obvious. This threat of a blockade completely contradicts what top cabinet secretaries had told him and his colleagues in that briefing just a few hours ago.
Which leaves us with the one big unsettling question that's just hanging over this entire chaotic day. With Congress totally in the dark and the administration's true motives apparently laid bare, we're all left wondering, why is Washington risking getting the country pulled into yet another complex and potentially endless conflict?